Boys and girls, welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kittiawah Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our program tonight. We have a lot of things we need to talk about tonight. I'm going to deviate from our normal realm of the way we approach topics tonight, because I want to get out information here that all of you need to know about. I'm going to tell you about things that you've heard about before, but you may not know the entire outcome of what is going on. I want to make something very perfectly clear. I'm not an expert. I am an expert. Two different things. I am considered a subject matter expert on disasters and emergencies. Everything we're going to talk about tonight is considered to be worthy of a disaster and or an emergency. I'm going to just come out and say that right now. Everything we're going to talk about tonight is considered of an emergency nature. Please pay attention. You may also want to take notes. You may want to take notes. A lot of information comes through here, a lot. We pass it on to you, and people don't take notes, and they keep asking question after question for days and weeks. I want to make sure that you have this information because it's important. It's important for your families. It's important for you to know what's going on. It's important for you to be able to make decisions for you and your family. I'm going to leave it with that. We need to be making decisions for our families. I don't take anything lightly. I literally don't take anything lightly what we talk about tonight. What we talk about anytime. Why? Because it's of utmost importance, and it could cause someone to lose their life. We're trying to save lives here. We are definitely trying to save lives. That's what we're coming from. That's the major decision I made a long time ago, of being able to come on this program and give you information that may save your life, or the lives of someone you may know about, that you know and love and care about. The first thing I want to talk about is something very hard. Something very, very hard. This event happened several weeks ago. The event I'm going to talk about right now happened several weeks ago. It's hard to talk about even today. But I want to make sure that we approach this in the manner of why we're talking about it. Several people lost their lives. And there's a possibility that even more people could lose their lives as a result of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Let me show you this picture here. Okay? This picture is the shipping container dolly and the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. A few weeks ago, when this accident first happened, we showed you video of the dolly, the container ship dolly, approaching this bridge. We showed you where it had been moored on a pier, being loaded up with containers on their way to a different part of the world. Now, they have offloaded some of the containers. About 180 containers have been offloaded from the ship. As you can see, this ship ran into the bridge the Francis Scott Key Bridge and took it down. Took it completely down. Now, I am not condoning anything that happened. Please do not misunderstand me tonight. I am not condoning anything that happened. Not at all. I'm not condoning any of the experts supposedly from the National Transportation Safety Board or the FBI or others that investigated this accident. The accident is still under investigation. Please do not misunderstand me when I'm talking about this. This accident is still under investigation. Now, Catherine Sigerson is asking the question, is oil leaking? There may have been some oil that has leaked from the ship. However, there are containers that are dangerous on the front part of the ship. They at first said that there was no hazardous materials on the ship. They lied. They absolutely lied. There are like 40 containers containing hazardous materials on the front of the ship. Now you might ask me, why were those containers on the front of the ship? It's protocol to put the hazardous materials on the front of the ship, so in case something does happen on the ship, whether it's out at sea or anywhere else, that it's going to be an easier task fighting a fire or containing the hazardous materials leaking, if all the hazardous materials are on the ship in one place. There were hazardous materials on the ship. Now, some of the other things I'm going to tell you about tonight, they are not pleasant. This information is not pleasant to talk about. But you may want to take notes about what we're talking about. Now, the dolly, the container ship dolly, was purposely steered into the bridge. The dolly was purposely steered into the bridge, and I can prove it. Something else that you may or may not have known about. The ship should not have attempted to go out to sea with as many mechanical issues as it had before it even left the pier. The ship should never have left the pier at all. The ship should never have left the pier at all. Now, I know that some of you may disagree with my findings. Some of you may disagree with the findings of the FBI, the National Transportation Safety Administration, or other people. I want to make sure that you understand what happened. That's why we are going to talk about it tonight. Our voices reach 2,000 to 3,000 people every day. That's more people than the average YouTube or Rumble or any other social media reaches people. This ship should never have left port. Please be advised, this ship should never have left port. The city of Baltimore and the state of Maine are suing the ship owners and the ship managers because the ship, the dolly, was unseaworthy. The ship the dolly was unseaworthy before the bridge even collapsed. Baltimore now and the state of Maine have sued the operators of the container ship that hit and destroyed one of the U.S. city's main bridges last month, killing 6 people. The city says the dolly was clearly unseaworthy, and it is accusing its owners and manager of negligence. The ship's Singapore-based owner and manager have already asked the court to limit their liability. The northeast part of the United States is reeling from the closure of one of its busiest maritime transit ports. The port has been closed for quite some time, with only limited times that other ships that are not large, very small ships can go in and out of the port. The port is basically closed to maritime travel. None of this should have ever happened. Attorneys that are representing the city of Baltimore, the mayor, and the city council argued in a federal lawsuit that none of this should ever have happened. The city is asking the U.S. District Court of Maryland for a jury trial to hold the defendants fully liable. The defendants are not the ship's crew, except for maybe the ship's captain, because the ship's captain made the decision for the ship to leave port. Baltimore, as I said before, is suing the owners and managers of the dolly, naming the dolly's owner Grace Ocean Private Limited and its manager Synergy Marine Private Limited. The suit alleges the Francis Scott Key Bridge's collapse was a direct result of their gross negligence and recklessness, and as a result of the unseaworthiness of the vessel. We've shown you a picture tonight, and we've shown you other pictures in the past month since the bridge collapsed. Those are just emblems of what happened. On April 1st, Grace Ocean and Synergy Marine petitioned the same federal court in Maryland to cap its responsibility for the incident, to make sure no one else could sue above a certain level. Citing a pre-Civil War maritime law, the pair of companies estimated their liability for the vessel and the cargo's value at $46.6 million. $43.6 million. 35 million pounds. Monday's court filing yesterday from the city of Baltimore rebuts the number as substantially less than the amount that will be claimed for losses and damages arising out of the dolly's liaison with the Key Bridge. The path taken by the cargo ship, which was supposed to be exiting the port of Baltimore under the Key Bridge, is no stranger to large freighters. The path, the watery path, is no stranger to large freighters. The city is saying that the vessel had been experiencing an inconsistent power supply that was either not investigated or not fixed. As you saw in the video a month ago, lights kept going out on the ship. People surmised then that there was a loss of power twice before the ship even hit the pier that held up the bridge. Because of the inconsistencies with the vessel and the vessel experiencing this inconsistent power supply problem that had not been fixed before it even left port, the Dolly is clearly unseaworthy. It is in an unseaworthy condition, according to the lawsuit. The Dolly left port anyway, despite its condition. The Dolly was manned by an incompetent crew, a crew that was literally ill-trained and incapable of controlling the ship. The crew was incompetent, inattentive to their duties, and they lacked proper training. This past Friday, port officials opened a third temporary channel for boats to enter and exit the corridor. A couple weeks we showed you that there was a corridor underneath the remaining part of the Francis Scott Key Bridge where some traffic could go under the bridge. But the bottom of the ocean there, the bottom of the port there, was only 13 feet deep. The south part, the south channel, was 23 feet deep. There is a company, a dredging company, that is coming in to open up a third channel to allow more traffic to enter and exit the Port of Baltimore. A third temporary channel for boats to enter and exit the corridor. But these channels can only sustain about 15% of pre-collapse commercial traffic. Those three corridors will only be able to sustain 15% of pre-collapse traffic, meaning the port is still essentially closed down. They might be able to get car carriers and small naval vessels, not great big aircraft carriers that have been able to go through there in the past, or any other large container ships. They have not yet floated the Dolly. The Dolly is sitting on the bottom of the port. Sitting on the bottom. Now, it is unclear right now whether the Dolly is sitting on a gas pipe, and possible other electrical pipes at the bottom of the water. A fourth channel that they're going to try to dredge will allow most traffic back into the port. That particular channel is expected to be open by the end of this month, they hope. Daryl Wilson, who is an attorney who represents Synergy Marine and is also handling media inquiries on behalf of Grace Ocean, told the media it would be inappropriate to comment on the litigation while federal investigations into the collapse are ongoing. Like I said, the FBI is still investigating. It wasn't until midweek last week that the FBI even got on board the Dolly. But the Federal Bureau of Investigation is now had agents on the Dolly since midweek last week. And the National Transportation Safety Board has been on board the Dolly back and forth since day one. They have given the ship's crew what amounts to intoxication tests to make sure the ship's crew was completely alert and not impaired by alcohol or drugs. 6 construction workers, as we reported before, were fixing potholes on the bridge when the bridge collapsed. 2 of the bodies have yet to be recovered. A week and a half ago, they finally recovered 2 of them, but 2 more bodies remain under the water. Workers are still attempting to extract thousands of tons of debris from the water. The steel rigging of the bridge, most of that steel rigging is still in the water. They have 4 great big huge ocean-going cranes at the scene. They have welding crews cutting up parts of the bridge to get it out of the water and to open up the sea lane again. They're trying to float the dolly. They're going to continue to offload containers from the dolly until they can float the dolly again. They do not want the dolly cutting up gas pipes under the water. They don't want to even give a tiny thought to moving that ship when it's still sitting on the bottom under the water, because it could cut electrical lines. It could render gas pipes under the water ineffective, or it could blow them up. That's the last thing they want to have happen. Workers are still trying to attempt to pull thousands of tons off of the ship and out of the water. The original schedule would have seen it arriving in Sri Lanka on Monday next week. If the dolly had not run into the Francis Scott Key Bridge, this coming Monday it would have arrived in Sri Lanka. Apart from two of the ship's pilots, 21 members, almost all of them who are of Indian origin, meaning from the country of India. Every one of those ship's crew are still on the ship. And right now there's no timeline yet for when any member of the crew could disembark or head back out to sea. It's highly unlikely that the dolly will head back out to sea anytime soon. The hull of the dolly has sustained a lot of damage. That's number 1. Number 2, they're not going to let the ship go anywhere until the investigation has been completed. There's been a lot of talk about this. I want to make sure that everybody understands this. Demon Catman is here in the chat saying anything is possible in this mad world of ours. And he is exactly right. Delete Foon says, are we live? Yes, we're live here on the air. We're live. One of my dear friends who is in the chat tonight, he made a statement I want to echo here. He says, mankind is running to and fro, and they don't know what the right hand is doing from the left hand. Absolutely right. You are absolutely right. By the way, to our Christian population in the chat, and anyone else that might be listening to this broadcast, I want to wish all of you, including our Jewish brothers and sisters, a happy Passover. We wish you a happy, pleasant, and peaceful Passover. Now, getting back to what we're talking about. Linda Covington says the vessel needs to go to the junkyard. Possibly. I'm not going to go that far yet. I'm going to say yet, okay? This accident was purposeful, in my opinion. I have spent a great deal of time off air investigating everything to do with this ship and the collision with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. In my opinion, it was done purposefully. It was done purposefully to impede the economy of the United States. It was done purposefully to stop people from making money. It was done purposefully to close that port. And there have been 2 other ports where attempts were made to close the ports by running into bridges with ships and barges. Look at that. Think about that. 2 other attempts to take out bridges with ships and barges. It's not over. This whole nightmare is far from over. Now, I want to go back and talk about another event that happened about 4 years ago. An event that should never have happened. Literally, it should never have happened. Why am I going to talk about it? Because I have heard and I have read so many people that are trying to blame President Trump for what has happened. Again, I have done my own investigation. I have also read investigatory notes about the entire event that happened on January 6th, 4 years ago. On January 6th, President Trump ordered National Guard troops to come to the Capitol. President Trump ordered National Guard troops to come to the Capitol.
South of Panama, class moderate, magnitude 5.3, depth 7.5 miles, 8 minutes ago.
Capitol Police, or I should say not Capitol Police, but former Capitol Police Chief Sund ordered National Guard troops. In both occasions, when President Trump made the order for National Guard troops and the Chief of Police made a petition for National Guard troops, those petitions had to go through the Senate Sergeant at Arms. And those orders had to be approved by who else? Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is inept, in my personal opinion. Nancy Pelosi should have been arrested and put in prison long before now because of her actions before and after January 6, 2020. Nancy Pelosi belongs in prison. Nancy Pelosi said no to the National Guard troops. There was a National Guard contingent from Maine sitting just blocks away from the Capitol when problems happened. They would have been the first into the Capitol had they been allowed to be there. But because Nancy Pelosi said no, the Department of Defense told them to stand down. Fact. Fact. People want to blame President Trump. President Trump did not do this. He had no part of it. He tried to make sure that the Capitol was safe, but he was not allowed to, even though he was the President of the United States. Fact. Diane Kelman is in the chat and said Trump asked for help and Pelosi did nothing. The Capitol Police Chief, who had been a Capitol Police Chief for a lot of years, asked for help from the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi said, oh, it wouldn't look good in pictures to see the Capitol surrounded by armed National Guard soldiers. President Trump did not ask for a riot on the Capitol. He tried to prevent it. The January 6th committee, made up of 90% Democrats, tried to get President Trump convicted of a crime and not doing his job on January 6th. They lied. They lied. Congressman Schiff, we used to call him Pencil Neck Schiff. He still is. He put forth documents that he lied about. He lied about documents that he brought into the January 6th committee and absolutely lied about what happened. He and other congressmen did the same. It was a Democrat Communist Party that was responsible for everything that happened on January 6th. Fact. The truth is coming out. The truth is coming out. Diane Kelman says, didn't they put up a wire fence after Biden got in? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But all these wonderful people, supposedly all these wonderful people that came in from the southern border have come in and caused problems. They have rioted at the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi and her people say, oh, it's not rioting. They might be protesting, but they're not doing anything wrong. What happened? What happened just before the end of this past year? Washington, D.C. was surrounded by anti-activists from Gaza, causing all kinds of problems, throwing up Gaza posters and Gaza stickers and Free Palestine stickers on our national monuments. They defaced private property. They defaced public property. They defaced government property. They, for a time, knocked down that fence that Biden had put up. And Biden was removed from the White House that night and taken out to Camp David. All these people that Biden has brought into the United States are causing problems. They are rioting. They are killing our citizens. They are trampling on our rights. As I said last week, some of those people that were in New York went up to the City Hall and County building in New York and demanded that they be given $10,000 debit cards that they could spend any way they choose, because Biden promised them that. Biden promised them that. What a crock of crap that is. 8 million people and counting have come across our southern border. Senator Ted Cruz has been down to the border numerous times and has tried to get Democrat congressmen and senators to go down to the border and see for themselves exactly what's going on. But none of the Democrat communists went down there. Not one of them. Biden finally went down to the border just a few weeks ago. He made an appearance, and the people that lived down there in Texas told him to go home, that he had no business being in Texas. It was a photo op. It was a complete photo op, ladies and gentlemen. He went down to Texas, and before he got there, they cleaned up the border area where he was at, where they didn't have any people coming across the border at all. They didn't have any riots going on. They took down the border wire that Governor Abbott had been put up to make good old Joey Biden look like a hero. What a crock. What a crock. Oh, Danny boy, there's nothing wrong with me. There is absolutely nothing wrong with me. But there might be something wrong with you. You're gone. You are gone. And you won't be back. Demon Catman is talking about an earthquake down in Panama. Upgraded from a 5.3 earthquake to a 5.5. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing big earthquakes hitting in South America and Central America. And pretty soon in southern Mexico. And within a very short time when they hit in southern Mexico, we're going to see the same kind of earthquakes hit in Southern California. You can take that to the bank. I promise you that's going to happen. AMS is asking, what went 5.5? An earthquake. Yes, we talk about earthquakes on this channel, guys. Yes, we do talk about earthquakes on this channel. Up until now in Panama, we have had no major quakes to report. The biggest quakes we've had are 5.0 to 5.3 until now, when they just upgraded that 5.3 over by Panama to a 5.5. And they may downgrade it again, because that's what they do. Folks, things are rotten in Denmark. And I am not talking about the actual country of Denmark. All of our countries are going to be taken over very soon by the United Nations. I talked a little bit about this the other night. And I'm addressing it again because I believe that each of you need to hear what's going on. And I'm not going to leave anything out. This is where you actually need to start taking notes, because your lives are going to be affected, and I don't care whether it's here in the United States or abroad. Our lives are going to be in the balance. Not just here in the United States, but all over the world. Come next year. Things are already getting worse here in the United States, and they're not going to get any better. Before I get into that, please, folks, if you have not already done so, give us a thumbs up. YouTube takes those thumbs up as knowledge that you all enjoy what we're talking about. That you all not just enjoy, but want everyone to know what's going on. Every like that you guys give us, every thumbs up that you guys give us, tells YouTube that they need to let other people on YouTube know about what's going on Emergency Management Associates. It's not just that. If you're only here for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, this program doesn't do you any good at all. Because if you're only here for 2 to 3, 4 or 5 minutes, you're not going to get any information that we're putting out. You're not going to have any idea of exactly what's going on around you because you have not stuck around to hear what we have to say. Every minute of this show has focus. Every minute of this show gives everyone a chance to know what's going on. Because every minute of this show gives you a chance to know what's going on so you can prepare for what's going to happen in your life. Because everything we talk about is happening. Everything we talk about is going to affect each one of us. Not just here, but around the world. I mentioned the United Nations last week. I am about to give you all the information you're going to need about the United Nations takeover. Grace for Purposes mentioning Yellowstone. Again, let me say this again, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. Nothing is going on at Yellowstone. Yellowstone is not going to erupt. Yellowstone is a volcano in the northwestern United States. Yellowstone is not anywhere close to erupting. I'm going to repeat it. The Yellowstone volcano is nowhere close to erupting. Not now and not any time close to what we're talking about. If Yellowstone starts looking like it's going to erupt, I will tell you about it. I promise you, I will tell you about it. I do not take my eyes and ears off of volcanoes. I am watching volcanoes around the world. Yellowstone is not going to erupt anytime soon. Period. Delete is asking, have I kept an eye on what's the weather is going on in Dubai? Yes, I have. And in fact, I devoted most of my program one day this past week on what happened in Dubai. In case those of you weren't privy to that program, Dubai got a year's worth of moisture in 12 hours. Dubai got a year's worth of moisture in 12 hours, flooding the streets of Dubai over there in the Middle East. Folks, I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to give you information that you need to know. Yellowstone is not it. Yellowstone is not it. It's not it. I will tell you ahead of time before anything happens at Yellowstone. I will tell you ahead of time before anything happens over in Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Baker, Glacier Peak, Mount Hood, Bachelor Volcano, Sisters Volcanoes, plural, Newberry Volcano, Crater Lake, Mount Shasta, and Mount Lassen, and all of the other volcanoes from southern Canada down to northern California. My mind has not left any of those volcanoes at all. I'm watching volcanoes and earthquakes around the world, almost 24 hours a day. Now, Leia's here in the chat is saying that she doesn't believe we're going to be able to vote our way out of what is about to happen. I have to agree with you. I would love, this is me, I would love for President Trump to be reelected. No, I don't necessarily agree with everything he has ever done. But he is by far better than the idiot in charge in D.C. right now. And the person in charge in D.C. right now is, number one, an idiot, an elderly man that has no clue what's going on around him, and he is being used as a puppet by a man that used to be president, Barack Hussein Obama. And Biden's handlers. Biden is a puppet. That's all he is. Carl Smith II is saying Biden could be declaring a climate emergency soon. Wait. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to tell you about that climate emergency that Biden's about to declare. Because it's not just Biden. It's not just his handlers. It's not just Barack Hussein Obama. It is quite a few other agencies. Not just U.S. federal agencies either. We're talking about world agencies. Worldwide control. Worldwide control, guys. Diane Kellman says she's going to give a link to the 2030 document. I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to read you the document. Now, before I get going on that, please know this. Send me the document. I'm going to read it to you. You don't have to put a link up. I don't approve any links of anyone's before I get to take a look at the link before. You don't post anything on my chat until I approve it first. Okay? But I'm going to read you the document because you all need to hear it. You may need to take notes. Please, Demon Catman is addressing this before I was able to say it. Do not put this abbreviation in the chat. Do not put this abbreviation in the chat. Okay? YouTube doesn't like it. YouTube would take me down. They've done it before. How about this agency right here? This agency is also behind it. Okay? Not to be outdone. But another one like this. Don't put these abbreviations in the chat. Please. You need to know about this. Because these agencies that I'm showing you now are part of the United Nations and their plot to overthrow the United States of America. And their plot to overthrow the British government. And their plot to overthrow not just the British government, but the Germany government, the EU, and all the others around the world. That's what they're going to do. Promise you. You can take that to the bank. Okay? Please understand this. I'm going to share the document with you because your lives depend on knowing this. You may need to get out of a pad of paper and a pen or a pencil to take notes about what we're talking about tonight. I originally was only going to talk about earthquakes tonight and a little bit about the Dolly container ship and what happened there. But a lot of information has been forthcoming that you all need to know about. Last week, I received this document from a friend of mine, and at first I could not find any link to it
Magnitude
all over the internet.
15 minutes ago.
There was only one internet link that showed any information, and so I kind of doubted it. But all of a sudden, guys, I was inundated with information. What I'm about to tell you is true, and all of you need to know about it. Catherine Sigerson from Canada says knowledge is power, even if it doesn't jive. Knowledge is power. Delete Funas says preach it. Please do not use capital letters here. Your chat was taken down because YouTube considers capital letters to be yelling. Yes, I have had people that say, no, they don't. Yes, they do. I have had people from Google moderators that have taken people's chats down here during my programs. I have seen it. I have seen it. Please do not use all capital letters. It's okay to capitalize a word at a beginning of a sentence or in your talking. But please do not capitalize everything. Don't do it. Now, moderators, I'm going to ask you all a big favor. Please watch the chat. Please watch the chat because I'm going to give you information that you need to have. Please, guys, don't violate me, don't violate my rules, and please don't screw my channel up because we will take you down. And do not use the 3-letter agencies that I showed you. Don't do it. Don't use any 3 or 4-letter agencies in the federal government. I do not want to give them any publicity. Okay? Shifter, I don't have to tell you why not. That's good enough for me. Don't question me, or you won't be here. Fact. Don't question me why I do things. There is a reason I do what I do. Just take it as advice. Don't question me here in the chat, and don't question my mods, and don't beat up on anyone else in this chat, or you'll be removed. Linda Covington is made a statement here that Elon Musk needs to buy YouTube. I couldn't agree anymore. At one point, I thought he was going to do it last year. Elon Musk needs to take over YouTube. So YouTube does not mess with people that are actually exercising their free First Amendment rights. Our rights are going down the tubes. I can promise you that. And I will tell you this. I will tell you this now in front of YouTube and the world. I am not going to comply. I am not going to comply. Plain and simple. I won't comply. Ever. Because I believe in each one of you. I believe that each one of you needs to hear this. I believe each one of us has a right to our rights and our freedom of speech and our ability to help each other. Each of us has those rights. And if anyone tries to take those rights away from us, guess what? We also have a right to stop those people. We have a right to stop those people, and I am going to do that. I am going to stop people from harassing you. I'm going to stop people from hurting you. I'm going to stop people from hurting anybody, even anywhere close to me, and members of my family. Yeah, I will stop it. And I will stop it right here, right now. Vicky K is here in the chat saying she will not comply, and either will I. I'm not going to obey. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. The things I'm about to tell you don't just apply to the United States, but apply around the world. United Nations Declaration Directive 001. The start of the New World Order. In our calendar year, July 4th, 2025. In accordance with the approval of the majority of the United Nations members, the following directive is in effect upon receipt. They sent it out. The directive is in effect upon receipt and will be implemented immediately, with the exception of those subjects or items that will obviously require additional time to change or implement. All United Nations states will hereby forthwith be known by their new name and their new corresponding number. For instance, the former nation of Canada will now be known as America Area 0001. The former United States of America will simply be known as America Area 0002. The former Central America, to include the former nation of Mexico, will now be known as America Central Area 0003. And the remainder of the nations of South America will collectively be known as America Area 0004. The former nations of Europe will be collectively and henceforth be known as Europe 0010, with a new map to delineate boundaries between Europe 0010 and Asia 0020. All new names for former nations within the various world continents are listed in the addendum to this directive, along with new maps, in order to establish new boundaries and locations of main United Nations control centers, UNCCs, United Nations Control Centers, which will administer all future government, administrative, military, policing responsibilities. As of March 17th, 2025. As of March 17th, 2025. The former United States of America has turned over their military and police forces to the United Nations for control and responsibility. And they will be disbanded or integrated into our global United Nations forces as soon as possible. The former United States of America, being the last nation to cede authority over to the United Nations Security Council, has created untold problems. Let me read that statement again. The former United States of America, being the last nation to cede authority over to the United Nations Security Council, has created untold problems and delays for our United Nations plans, and will soon feel the brunt of rapid and decisive changes to meet our scheduled goals of a unified and one world government. The entire executive branch of the former United States government is hereby dismissed, as our selected United Nations leaders will assume those duties with an approved administrative council to assume those duties. The judicial branch is likely, the judicial branch is likewise dismissed immediately, as United Nations judges have been selected and are waiting to assume that task. However, the legislative branch will remain at their posts until they are incrementally relieved of duties by United Nations representatives that are not yet selected or in place to discharge those responsibilities. Questions regarding this directive or further concerns should be held in abeyance until United Nations representatives for your specific locations have arrived to resolve pending issues and questions. That's what they're telling us. And I'm not done. For the immediate moment, you may continue your life as you have in the past. However, the instructions I'm going to read you now. The instructions below are not to be questioned or disputed. The instructions below are not to be questioned or disputed. You will all have sufficient time to understand and follow these and future directives, orders, and regulations as they are formulated and issued. Please do not panic, and you will find our new world transforming into one of a society of planetary excellence. Orders to all personnel of former federal, state, county, and local governmental agencies. On July 5th, 2025, you will commence to repaint all ships, aircraft, vessels, both military and civilian, to United Nations blue colors, so has already been completed in all other nations of the world. Aircraft, ships, and vehicle numbering will remain as it is, with the exception that the United Nations or the United Nations wording will precede all numbers and letters. You will further be instructed to make preparations to change all uniforms for both military and civilian police units to the United Nations light blue colors. All instructions or directives from the United Nations Security Council or United Nations representatives will be understood to be applicable to the entire former nation or nations, and will be enforced throughout all areas and locations. Failure to comply or resist will be met by violent and brutal force, and those not in compliance should expect to be shot on sight. That's what it says. The United Nations Council members and their representatives have neither the time nor inclination to debate concerns or to negotiate sorry about that. The United Nations Council members and their representatives have neither the time nor inclination to debate concerns or to negotiate loss of authority, property, income, or so-called freedoms. All future authority and control is in the hands of the United Nations, and any interference in our attainment scheduled goals will not be tolerated and will be dealt with through jailing or swift elimination. Hospitals and clinics will continue to administer medical services as in the past. However, All hospitals and clinics will have management replacements, and future medical services will be provided as per United Nations directives, soon to be published. While free care will be available to all, individuals over 50 years of age will not be allowed to have replacement organs, as the costs are unacceptable, and the individual have limited abilities to perform needed work for our planet's future. Similarly, those with diseases or deformities, to include children and infants, that preclude future possibilities for work and enhancement to their locales, with have approved euthanasia used. Did you hear what they said? Anyone who is diseased or has limited abilities to perform needed work for the planet's future, deformities, including children and infants, will be euthanized, depending on the individual's circumstances and abilities. Schools and universities and colleges will continue to operate as scheduled, and until such time as administrators and educators are tested and returned to their classrooms. That is in accordance with United Nations educational directives. Teachers and educators not meeting United Nations standards or following UN directives will be replaced, and new jobs will be found for the willing. Those unwilling to cooperate will soon be on the streets seeking other vocations. Farmers. Farmers who grow food products and corporations which process food and wholesale them will continue to operate as normal and until given further instructions. However, all farming and corporation equipment will be painted United Nations blue color, and numbering or lettering will be changed in the same manner as that listed in order number 1 above. 6. Police organizations of all types and kinds will include federal, state, county, and local police, will now be under the control and authority of the United Nations. While former written changes will be promulgated to each and every police entity very soon, you are now an approved United Nations police force, and will take all further directions from your local United Nations representatives. We expect resistance in many forms to our orders. Therefore, you are now authorized and have shoot-to-kill authorization to anyone opposing you or our directives, and that includes your fellow police officers. There is no need to be concerned with trials or charges against you personally, as you have been granted authority to shoot anyone resisting your authority at any time. All trials are on hold indefinitely. Murderers and rapists, child molesters, arsonists, drug dealers, and prostitutes will be shot on sight, or until such time as more controllable situation can be established, and further guidelines provided. We acknowledge that there are and will be some armed resistance from some police, military, and veterans groups, as well as from groups and individuals of various other patriotic beliefs or even anarchists. That is expected. These people or groups will be eliminated either by your own forces or by those forces assigned by our United Nations Military Command. All nuclear, biological, and chemical weaponry are now under United Nations control and will be used in those areas where resistance proves to take too long or it becomes too costly manpower-wise. Those who believe they can take a 30-30 rifle or a 22 pistol rifle and oppose us are sadly mistaken, as biological and chemical use is authorized for all areas of the former United States of America. Further, if resistance continues for an extended period of time, then atomic or nuclear weapons may be authorized. So it will require some very stupid people to want to oppose this inevitable change in government. And your demise will simply allow our plans to progress at a steadier rate. Everyone is expendable, with the exception of senior United Nations leaders and their families. So do not provide our council with the excuse to eliminate you, your friends, your neighbors. 8. All illegal drugs and alcohol sales are hereby prohibited, and a minimum 20-year jail sentence will be imposed as a first offense. Second offenses will not be tolerated, and abusers of these prohibited items will be eliminated, as mentally ill patients will no longer be redeemable value. Smokers will be given 90 days to end their habit, and they will then be sentenced to 5 years in jail if sufficient progress is not noted during allowable time period. This problem may take care of itself in the future, as all tobacco sales will be prohibited in the near future. All forms of religion and religious beliefs are hereby prohibited. All churches will cease to hold services, and buildings and structures that are not demolished will be used for the needs of the United Nations organizations. All religious icons, books, and paraphernalia are to be destroyed before United Nations representatives arrive. They alone will determine the best use of the building or structure, or whether to simply demolish them. 10. Children past the age of 5 will be sent to United Nations schools for future schooling and training. Parents will be allowed to visit with their children on a semi-annual basis for a 3-day period. The task of changing the previous government is an enormous risk and a task, and it will take time to implement all the planned goals. The cooperation and assistance of each individual to speedily attain these objectives is required by our council members. Those who cooperate will find their futures to be more pleasant. Those who refuse to cooperate will find that they may be short-lived. This ends the initial instructions and orders in Directive number 001, which have been specifically prepared for the citizens of the former United States of America. Further instructions will be forthcoming as changes are made and resistance is assessed. That came out last week. Logan Fletcher is here in the chat and has asked a question. He was a little late getting here. What is this that you're reading? As I said before, this is an order given by the United Nations. Order 0001. Now, what is going on now? And again, what I'm about to tell you, I have researched, or it would not make my air.
Location south of Panama. Class light. Magnitude 4.3 5 minutes ago.
Lockdown 2.0. Those of you who are around in 2019, 2020, 2021, and even in 2022, know what happened then. And I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not going to repeat it. There is no reason to repeat it at all. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I believe what I found. I want to make it abundantly clear what we see happening. I am now going to briefly talk about what's going on in the Middle East. A variation protocol, the Strait of Hormuz, is supposed to be shutting down all oil in the Persian Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz is supposed to be shutting down all oil in the Persian Gulf. The White House is considering a climate emergency. Someone at the beginning of this broadcast was talking about it. Biden trying to assume more control over the United States and its people by declaring a climate emergency, locking people down. That would give Joe Biden powers that happened back in the time period of 2019, 2020, 2021, until 2022. CV-type powers. The FAA, the Federal Airline Administration, with their diversity push, includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. Fact. People, this is a roundabout way where they are exploring every possible avenue to get people to stay home for another potential lockdown. Nobody wants to pay for more. Nobody wants to pay for more than is due to the spike of prices. Prices are going crazy throughout the United States and around the world. Gas prices and other prices skyrocketing. But of course, people have in the past needed and had the right to go to work, right? Climate change, this so-called climate change, we've talked about this on previous programs. They've tried to use climate change as a method of controlling us, trying to tell us climate change has everything to do with everything around us. Electricity flowing, goods and services out here. I call BS. I call BS. Biden's climate change excuse is just another draconian thing that will go unchallenged due to the carbon or the green clause that the United Nations has passed. The United Nations and the New World Order. There's already a passenger flight risk from co-pilots with disabilities. Co-pilots that got that thing that was required. And now we have pilots and co-pilots dying at the controls of major airliners. pilots with disabilities who now are eligible to still have a pilot's license, regardless of their mental stability. And the FAA is still discouraging flying. The FAA is still discouraging flying to control us. As I stated a few minutes ago, the Strait of Hormuz over in the Middle East is one major area that can cause a lot of disruption, and it would play right into the hands of the globalists and the national climate emergency that is supposedly here. Of course, at this point, Biden is already wielding war powers. Biden is already wielding war powers. Of course, at this point, we know by now that this will be used as a bridge to the new system.
Location, Philippine Islands region, class flight, magnitude 4.6.
Joe Biden is not running anything. Joe Biden is not running anything. However, his administrators behind the scenes are, including Mr. Barack Hussein Obama and JAG, the Judge Advocate General of the military. Because in 2020, there were a lot of round trips that took place that the military used to arrest people in these areas. The government entertaining banking institution, not to mention the roundup of congressmen that were filmed, which was uploaded by Nancy Drew years ago at the Capitol. We are nearing the crescendo point to this operation. Former President Trump is in the crosshairs to be arrested. Former President Trump is in the crosshairs of being arrested. The Democrat Communist Party is trying to vote right now to take away his Secret Service protection. Every president since I believe it was 1940, has been afforded Secret Service protection. And now, because President Trump is running against all that Joseph Biden is putting forth, Joe Biden has been trying to put him in jail, trying to take away his Secret Service protection. Because if he's going to go to jail, he's not going to need Secret Service. If he's going to go to jail, the guards in the prisons will provide protection for him. Wrong answer. The guards in the prisons can't protect the prisoners that are already there. This, of course, will open up the doors for all past presidents to be taken down as well. This is a transition period that we are undergoing to bring back national independence of our country. Each and every one of us knows what our responsibilities are. As I just reiterated by the reading of that document from the UN, we need to oppose all of the BS that's going on. And I don't care. Go ahead, make my day. If they try to come get me and take me out, I'm also going to take a lot of them out, as well as many other people just like me. Diane Kellman is here in the chat saying Joey is the one that should be in jail for extortion and treason, along with every member of his administration. Every member of his administration, including little bitty Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama, Bill Clinton. Every one of those people I just mentioned and their handlers should all be in jail. Period. Joseph Biden has had the United States of America relying on the Middle East oil. National independence of oil on other countries. Because Joe Biden has shut down our own ability to get oil from underneath the ground where we live. Prior to Biden coming into office, the United States of America was for the first time, energy independent. Now we're struggling. Joe Biden has either sold oil to China and given oil to Ukraine and other countries that was here as our own backup. The backup for our military. It was called the Strategic Oil Reserve. We now have 17 days left of oil and gas in our Strategic Oil Reserve because Biden has depleted it. During the past 3.5 years, he's gotten rid of it. China has been given oil and gas. Ukraine and Russia have been given our oil and gas, which means Biden has committed treason. Committed treason. Delete is saying, Ron, let's talk about how to prepare ourselves and our families for the future. Oh yeah, we've been talking about it. We've been talking about that for 5 years, guys. 5 years. I've been on the air for 5 years. You can go back during this past year when I opened up this new channel. You can go back for the past year since I've been on this new channel. And any program that I've ever put up that has the word preparedness in the title, you can go find out a lot of information that will help protect you and your family. I will always be talking about preparedness for as long as I live. On Friday, unless something major happens around this world, this Friday will be devoted to emergency preparedness. And I'm asking all of you to invite your friends, your families, your neighbors to that program on Friday. Everyone. I would love to see 5,000 people show up in chat. I would love to see 5,000 people that have seen Friday's program coming up. Please be here. Please be here. Demon Catman is here asking all of you to refrain from throwing up more than 2 or 3 emojis. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Yes, I appreciate emojis as well. I appreciate thumbs up. I appreciate everything that you do for our program and helping other people, helping your friends and your family here in our chat. That is what's important. That's what we do here, help each other. If you haven't already done so, please give us a thumbs up. We have 94 thumbs up right now. I would love to see 200 thumbs up because we have probably 2,000 people watching this program right now. Right now, despite the United Nations. Right now, I believe we are in a transition time period. A transition time period to try to reestablish our national independence as a country, regardless of what the UN wants. Jen is asking, what time are we going to be on Friday? Sometime after 6 p.m. Sometime after 6 p.m. we'll be here on Friday. Getting back to what I'm talking about. We do not need to be relying on the Middle East for anything. We do not need to be relying on the Middle East for anything. We have more than enough here in the United States when you think about it. We have plenty here. We have plenty here, including oil and gas. We do not need to rely on the Middle East for anything. We have more than enough when you think of the Keystone XL pipeline that was shut down by Joe Biden a few years ago, and other pipelines around the United States, Alaska, Canada, and Hawaii. What would happen if we were to open up this pipeline again? The Keystone XL pipeline would provide a stable, reliable source of oil from Canada, reducing America's dependence on oil from other volatile regions of the world, including Venezuela. This increased energy security This increase in energy security could only help insulate the United States from global supply disruptions and price fluctuations and grabbing of strategic information and things that we need. The construction and operation of that pipeline will create thousands of jobs in the energy sector, as well as in related industries such as manufacturing and transportation and services. These jobs would provide a boost to local economies and help support American workers. The increased supply of oil from the pipeline would help keep energy prices stable, which could stimulate economic growth by reducing costs for businesses and consumers, and stop electric vehicles, and stop evil people from trying to press us into expensive vehicles that none of us can afford. Lower energy prices could also make American industries more competitive in global markets. Everything that we're seeing here is moving away from the old system. Everything that we are seeing is moving us away from the old system. Even if it comes off as a catastrophe. All this is important for the new financial system taking shape every day. Government reform, financial reform, and economic reform, and education reform. These things will likely not run like they have over the past 5 decades. Iraq is not the only country revamping their entire country. Once this reinstatement happens, once this reinstatement occurs, everything and everywhere will change forever. Nothing will be the same. Like I've tried to explain to you with the United Nations and Joe Biden in control, Lockdown 2.0 will happen. Soaring energy prices, public transportation restrictions, oh yeah. Why do you think Joe Biden has been pressing us to have electric vehicles? To keep us from going over 200 miles away from home. Because you have to stop for 4 to 6 hours to recharge your vehicle before you'll be able to go another 200 miles. Lockdowns are coming. Energy prices soaring are going to happen. They're already putting transportation restrictions in place and increased work from home measures, increased focus on renewable energy, economic global recession. An economic global recession. All this is going to be happening. This is going to cause an impeding on the movement of people, not just here in the United States, but around the world. If you think things are worse now, just wait. Wait until the United Nations and or Joe Biden finishes what they've started. The liberals are in charge. The liberals have to be taken down. Period. They have to be taken down. Or we're toast. Delee's asking the question, where does the UN fit into the future of fuel? They want to control the fuel. They want to control us. When they have control of the fuel, guess what? You and I will probably never see another car. We'll probably never see another scooter that requires gasoline. Period. They're going to try to take away everything. They're going to try to take away everything. You can take that to the bank. Do any of you have any questions about anything we've talked about tonight? You guys have probably heard about all the earthquakes happening over in Taiwan. Every one of those earthquakes that have occurred in Taiwan over the past 4 to 5 days, every one of those earthquakes are aftershocks of an 8.4 earthquake that hit there just 3 weeks ago. And if you have not already heard, President Xi of China is offering everything from China to help Taiwan get over the earthquake and the earthquakes that are continuing to hit the east coast of China. Those all are aftershocks of an 8.4 earthquake that hit there 3 weeks ago. And they're still happening. Why are we seeing so many earthquakes in Taiwan? We're going to see earthquakes hitting Taiwan for a very, very long time. Months and possibly years. That's what happens when you have a major earthquake like Taiwan saw. That's what happens. You have aftershocks to the tune of 6.3, 6.5, 6.0. 11 of those 6-pointers yesterday. 11 6-pointers and 5-pointers. Anywhere from 5.0 to 6.3 yesterday. 11 very large, strong earthquakes. Hitting Taiwan and off the coast of Taiwan. It's happened before. Rob52 is asking me for the website. Okay? Rob, I think I sent it to you this weekend. If not, I will send that website to you tonight. Okay? Everybody needs to see it. That's why I read it. I wanted to make sure that you have the information. It's absolutely necessary to know that information. Absolutely necessary. You could probably look it up under United Nations Directive 001, the start of the New World Order in our calendar year for July 2025. But Rob, I will send that to you as soon as we get off the air. Pam Kruger, can I have the website too? I will put that website up in the community page of our program. The community page of our channel, I should say. I will make sure you have that. Okay? I'll make sure you have that. Diane Kellen says I will like it too. Go, after we get off this program, give me about 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll put that over on the community page on our channel. There is a community page. Okay? That way you'll have it. Grace, for purposes, I just want to apologize for bringing up Yellowstone. Too much hype. Too much hype. When people are mentioning Yellowstone and things like that, why do you think they're doing it? They want to take our minds off of what else is going on around the world, what's going on in our lives. Don't pay attention to the garbage. Don't pay attention to the hype. Vicky's asking, does it contain the map? No, it does not. Texas lady says distractions. Folks, you need to get away from the distractions. The distractions of life will kill you. Please, please, please pay attention to what we've been talking about. Delete funds is also saying Iceland is getting active as well. Iceland has been active. There's no such thing as getting active. Iceland has been active for about 4 to 6 weeks. And even before that, we can date that back to last year and the year before that. 2 years ago, in the very southern portion of the Reykjanes Peninsula, a volcano started erupting. People throughout the world and people throughout Iceland were driving to the southern part of the Reykjanes Peninsula, dropping their cars on the side of the highway and hiking 2.5 hours to see the volcano in southern Iceland. Since then, the molten lava beneath the ground, the molten magma beneath the ground has been moving northward. Last year, it moved over just north of Grindavik. Grindavik is a seaport over on the west or the east coast of Iceland. A volcano erupted over there. 2 volcanoes actually erupted. 2 different volcanic fields. One of those fissures that opened up nearest Grindavik sent lava into the town of Grindavik, destroying 3 homes there. That was last year. It's continuing to go. Let me tell you this, okay? Let me get past what I've told you about tonight. Iceland's gotten hit. Iceland's gotten hit in a big way. In a huge way, guys. In a huge way. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. I've been in contact with 3 different professors that are in charge of the Met Office, the meteorological office in Iceland. The Met Office is in charge not just of snow and rain and weather, but they're also in charge of volcanoes, earthquakes, and magma down beneath the surface. True. True. Why am I worried about it? Why am I so worried about it? There are about 780,000 people in Iceland. 780,000 people in Iceland. Those people have a right to live. We need to help them. I think we need to help them. Why? Why do you think it's necessary for us to help them? If you think about it, they have been helping us for many, many, many years. A lot of years. Space Potato says you guys should have a clubhouse room and hang out. We don't need a clubhouse room. We have a Discord channel. We set up a Discord channel some 3 years ago that people could go to talk at all hours of the day and night and share information. Some of that information has made it to this channel because we want to make sure that you have the latest information about almost anything. Literally. We don't need a clubhouse. We don't. We already have a Discord channel that everybody can go to and fellowship and care about each other and find out about each other and where everybody lives. So when something major happens, that you can help each other. That's unique. We have a Discord channel. We encourage everyone to help each other. We encourage everyone to help each other. And we always will. Everyone will be helped. Literally. Everyone will be helped. Without fail. Because we're going to help each other. We are going to help each other. When Maui burned last year, where was Emergency Management Associates? Where were we? We were right in the middle of everything trying to get help for everyone over in Hawaii. We were doing it. And we will do it again. We will do it again and again and again. You can take that to the bank. We will do whatever is necessary to help people that need our help. We always have and we always will. That's what Emergency Management Associates is. We're associates helping everyone during emergencies. And I still have a great deal to talk about when it comes to Maui. I have a great deal to talk about to everything that has to do with Maui. I have a great deal of friends in Hawaii. I have a great deal of friends there. I have friends around the world. And I will not forget any of you. I care about you. I love you. Delete Fun says, we're all in this together. You're right. You are absolutely right. Guys, I need to get out of here. I need to let everyone go to bed. I know I've gotten everybody riled up by what we talked about. But I have felt a great deal of pressure to make sure that you knew what was going on. I want to make sure that you know what's happening to save your lives. To save your lives. Now, brothers and sisters, I haven't left any of you without a devotional at the end of our programs for a very long time because I care. A great many parts of our channel here is devoted to emergency services, telling you what's happening to save your lives. But there's something else. There's something else. It's the Word of God. It's the Word of God. During the past few years, I've given you information. I've been preaching the Word of God, literally. I've been teaching Sunday school. At the end of every program, I've given a lot of spiritual guidance because I care. I care. Brothers and sisters, today is no different. I come before you tonight with a heavy heart because of everything that's going on around us. But on the same token, we have our Savior, Jesus Christ, here to help us. Jesus Christ suffered for our sins. His suffering for us started in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it continued on through his crucifixion. He prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, Father, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, thy will be done. Christ hung on the cross. And even as he was hanging on the cross, he prayed for the other two prisoners that were hanging on either side of him. He prayed for all of us. He gained a perfect divine understanding of everything you and I have ever experienced. He gained a perfect understanding, a divine understanding of everything. Everything that could possibly happen to us in our lives. He took upon himself the sins of the entire world. He also was resurrected so that you can live again, that we all can live again. He provided the way, the plan of salvation, so that not only could we live again, but we could live again in heaven with our families, Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father, and all of our loved ones. Christ did that for us. Other prophets have also labored for us and labored for themselves. I spoke of a prophet Enos. His soul hungered. He went out into the forest to hunt because he had physical hunger. He ended up staying there all night into the next night because his whole soul hungered. This hunger led Enos to raise his voice high that it reached the heavens. He described this experience as a wrestle before God. As a wrestle before God. How many times have we wrestled before God? How many times have things happened for us before we received a remission of our sins? How many times have we wrestled with ourselves? Within ourselves. From Enos, we learn that prayer is a sincere effort to draw near to God and to seek to know His will. When you pray with real intent, you are more likely to discover, as Enos did, that God hears you and truly cares about you, me, and all of our loved ones, even our enemies. He cares about each one of us. When you pray, you will know His will, and you're going to be better able to do His will. While you may not know all things, but the Lord does. And through prayer, the Lord works through each one of us according to His will. The Lord works through each of us according to His will. Brothers and sisters, I have a strong testimony of prayer. God will hear and answer our prayers. My own experience with prayer is very poignant. Whenever I have prayed, I have mostly gotten answers. And when I haven't gotten immediate answers, I've stayed on my knees until I have some kind of affirmative answer to my prayers. Here are some words or questions to think about when you're thinking about praying. What did the Lord teach us about prayer? What did the Lord teach us about prayer? What did He teach us? Is it important? I believe so. As Enos said, and my soul hungered, and I knelt down before my Maker, and I cried unto Him mightily. I cried mightily unto Him. Prayer and supplication for my own soul. All the day long did I cry unto Him. Yea, and when the night came, I did still raise my voice high, that it reached the heavens. And there came a voice unto me, saying, Enos, thy sins are forgiven thee, and thou shalt be blessed. And I, Enos, knew that God could not lie, wherefore my guilt was swept away. And I said, Lord, how is it done? And He said unto me, because of thy faith in Christ, whom thou hast never before heard nor seen, and many years pass away before He shall manifest Himself in the flesh. Wherefore go to, thy faith have made thee whole. Faith precedes the miracle. Faith precedes the miracle. If we truly want to know the Lord, kneel down in a private space where it's just you and the Lord. Kneel down and offer up the confines of your heart. Pray. Pray. As Enos said, and now it came to pass that when I'd heard these words, I began to feel a desire for the welfare of my brethren the Nephites. I did pour out my whole soul unto God for them. And while I was thus struggling in the Spirit, behold, the voice of the Lord came into my mind again, saying, what? I will visit thy brethren according to their diligence in keeping my commandments. I have given unto them this land, and it is a holy land, and I curse it not, save it be for the cause of iniquity. Wherefore I will visit thy brethren accordingly as I have said, and their transgressions will be forgiven. Their transgressions will be upon their own heads. And Enos went forth again and said, and after I, Enos, had heard these words, my faith began to be unshaken in the Lord. And I prayed unto him with many long time. I prayed. I prayed. He prayed. He had faith. What is our faith? What is our faith? Brothers and sisters, faith precedes a miracle. Faith can get you everywhere. The Lord will bless us when we pay attention to his desires, what he wants us to do. Prayer will help you. I tell you that because I have found that out in my own life. Catherine Paina, I said earlier, and I'll say it again, don't worry about the swarms in Yellowstone. Yellowstone is not going to erupt anytime soon. Don't worry about it. I am watching Yellowstone and I'm watching all the other volcanoes, as I said before. If Yellowstone is going to erupt, I'll tell you about it. Forget the hype. Forget the hype. That's the last thing you need to worry about. Brothers and sisters, have faith. Pray to the Lord to bless you and your families. Pray to the Lord for answers to what we're going to have to face, what we're already facing, and how we're going to get where we need to be, because the Lord wants to bless us. Brothers and sisters, like I said, I have a strong testimony of the Lord Jesus Christ. He's my and your Redeemer. He's my and your Redeemer. He is our King. He is our deliverer and our all. May God bless you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again. We'll be back on our computer probably tomorrow evening with another episode of Emergency Management Associates. Please be with us. Share this program far and wide. Make it go viral. If you haven't already subscribed to this program, be advised, YouTube continues to unsubscribe people. I found 100 people this past weekend that were unsubscribed by YouTube. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you find yourself unsubscribed, resubscribe immediately. And also right next to this subscription button, there is a little bell icon. Click on that little bell and you'll see a drop-down menu of 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL, all, so that you're notified when we come on this program. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back here on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. It will. God be with you. God be with you until we meet again. Have a great night, brothers and sisters. I love you so much. And the Lord loves you as well. Good night, everybody. Much love.